Alright, hello and welcome back. So the preview for the next event has been released and I think I'll be able to play Rosetta a little bit earlier before I actually get the character. And well, it's time to see what the next preview will have to offer. Now, the update will arrive around the 3rd of September, at least that's the date that I did see. Of course, it also can happen that it will arrive a little bit later than that, so we will see. But let's jump in the first stage. Now, I am prepared to get Rosetta. I have enough cards to get a character, and I was quite lucky with my pulls since I have currently 50 out of 60 for the guarantee. So I am 100% getting the character, and I'll be playing the character for a while to see how the character works, and of course I'll be developing a lot of the builds for the character, and of course I'll be testing them out. I'll be testing them out as well. Since that is one of the more anticipated characters, it will be very interesting to see how she will perform and how she will work. Now, speaking of the new character, we will also get the next story chapter. I think it's chapter 13, and that story chapter will be revolving around Rosetta, and I think it will be interesting to see how that will work out, and it will be interesting to see if any of our characters that are currently available are going to be included into that story. And the long-awaited Rosetta versus Alpha is also going to happen. Now, speaking of Rosetta versus Alpha, there is going to be a Alpha in-game as boss, definitely. That's guaranteed to happen. And I'll be also matching up Alpha versus Rosetta in the performance test to see the actual differences between these two characters, since I think that will be very interesting. Okay, well, these are the first stages, the preview stages. Since Rosetta did join the station, she did join the Grey Raven team, I think, and it will be interesting to see what happens after that. Now, this is the first version of Rosetta that we are going to get, and I can guarantee that in the future we are going to get A class and even potentially a separate S class. But overall, the character looks very good. I do like the design of this character a lot, and it was kind of obvious that this character will be a defender type because of the shield that she's carrying. And I do like the weapon that she's using. It looks very good, and I think I'll be also going for the weapon. It depends. If I get lucky, I'll be getting the weapon again, since I think that she isn't complete without the weapon. And do I see lightning attacks? I think these are lightning attacks. So is this character a physical or elemental, or a 50% physical or a 50% elemental? I don't know. Since these look definitely like lightnings, and I would be very surprised if this character is purely a physical character. But we will see. Well, the stage was easy, and well, I got my preview for the character. Have to say, it's a so far she does work really well, and judging by these 2 minutes of gameplay, I can already see that this character will be fun to play, and I'm still very curious about her main damage. Is it going to be purely physical damage, or is it going to be 50% physical or 50% lightning damage? I don't know, but I personally think that she will be a 50% physical and 50% lightning damage character. But I guess we will find out in the next week when the update gets released. And story-wise, I do expect also a lot of cutscenes, since so far the developers did give us a lot of cutscenes, and all of these cutscenes were fantastic. The Lucia boss battle cutscene, that's one of the best cutscenes that they ever did in the game, where Lucia lost her memories, and it will be interesting it will be interesting to see if they are going to make a similar cutscene now for Rosetta. A Rosetta versus Alpha cutscene would be very good, and I am looking forward for that. Honestly, I am very curious to see what the story will offer, since so far each of the stories in the last like 3 or 4 updates did have 1 or 2 cutscenes, and they are increasing the number of cutscenes per update, which would mean eventually in the near future for the game will have mostly these 3D cutscenes in most of the dialogues, which I think which will be very interesting, and I would absolutely like to see that. It will make the game a lot more fun. It will increase the game's quality by a big amount, since having 3D cutscenes is a lot better than having the normal cutscenes, which are also fine, but 3D cutscenes are they kind of feel better because you can experience the game as a movie or as a series, which will be interesting. Okay, well, apparently there is another event that's released the same day, which, as you can see, I am already playing. And I don't know if this is also part of the preview. I think it might be part of the preview, and it might be setting the story for one of the future chapters, or it also might be part of this current event. Now, speaking of the current event, it was very good, and I did absolutely enjoy it. It was perfect, and my favorite part for this current event definitely have to be the side stories, because the side stories were indeed very fun to play, and I did enjoy all of it, and it was very pleasant to translate, and it was also very pleasant and very entertaining to read, and of course to play. I know that they are going to make a special event for the Nier Automata collaboration, and soon the game will hit the 1 year anniversary, which will happen in, I think, December. And I'm very curious to see what they are going to do for the anniversary of this game. Who knows? It might be a global version announcement, but what I personally think, it will be the Nier Automata collaboration, or it might be something completely different. But I think to celebrate the anniversary of this game, I think the collaboration is actually a good idea. But I guess we will find out when the game will have its anniversary in December. But so far it was perfect actually so far. I did enjoy the game, and I'm also looking forward for the future events and future characters, and of course the future story, and of course I am looking forward for the global version of this game, which of course is already kind of announced, and it's just a matter of time now when they release the global version of this game. Okay, let me jump into the next stage. Now, you're going to see some familiar stages in these stages, and this is one of these maps that do remind me on a horror game that I did play. And well, let's use the there we go. Let's live up close. Looks pretty good. I like the character models. They did a very good job to make the characters highly detailed, and they also did a good job to remove any kind of blur from the maps and from the characters, which is impressive. Okay, well, let's hope that nothing creepy is waiting for me. I don't know, but when I enter these rooms, I have the feeling that there is a jump scare waiting for me. But since I know that this is not a I know that this is not a horror game, so there aren't going to be any jump scares. But the games that I used to play before, and a lot of these games were also horror games, they did have a similar layout, and I can tell you, they had a lot of jump scares, and luckily now I don't see any, which is good. Okay, well, let's see. If you're wondering what am I doing, I think one of the bosses did invade Liv's memories, and she is now trying to get out of those. So let's see what will happen. And if there is any like upcoming horror game, I think I'll play it since I do like horror games a lot. And I think I did see one of them, but I am not quite sure. And if I'll have to check this, by the way, since if there is a horror game that catches my interests, I will play it. Since I used to play a lot of horror games back in the day. Okay, well let's talk to this character, and then I have to exit this room. Now I still feel like there is going to be something creepy waiting me when I exit this room. Oh, well, okay. Looks like not, since it is the ending of the stage. Oh, okay, not a big problem. Well, thankfully no horror elements so far, but I wouldn't mind if they added a bit of horror elements in this game, since I think that would suit the game very well actually. And I think that this game can also have a horror element in it. Let's see what will happen next. Now, I did play a lot of the characters, and my current main lineup is absolutely the lineup that you can see most of the time. I also did play Vera a lot, and I have to say Vera is also very fun to play, and it is also a very smooth character. Now, we will see how smooth will Rosetta be, since I think that she can also be very smooth and very playable, and also very responsive to input commands. And having a very smooth character is always a good thing, and it is always fun to play these smooth characters, especially characters like Phoenix or Vera. These two characters are very smooth, and it is very satisfying to play with these characters since their attacks are very fast. And especially Vera, she is very smooth, and her attacks also feel like they have weight, and she does deal a lot of damage, and overall is a very useful character. Now, as for Rosetta, since she is a defender type after all, I think I think that she also can do a lot of damage, and I'm definitely going to try out multiple layouts for the character, and of course I'll be trying multiple of the builds that I will make. Okay, let's be careful here. I have to. Well, anyway, if you're playing these stages, you don't have to worry about. Just follow my steps here, and you will clear these stages very fast. Now, this event is very long so far. I have to say, it is actually. I think this video will be over 20 minutes with these two new events, and that is something new since usually these events are at least less than 15 minutes long. So they definitely did improve on this a lot, and I am glad to see that they are improving on the story, and the dialogue also is very well written, and I do like the text so far, since all of them do have the meaning, and all of them will have a impact on the story at one point, of course, and that will be very interesting to see. Okay, well, these two bosses again, alright. Now I'm kind of still curious about the potential, the potential of vanguards that are going to be in the game, since currently there is only one of them, and as time goes on, they might release other vanguards, which might be class A or even class S. We don't know. But if they do that, it will be very interesting since they they will have a different character design, and when they have a different character design, then I think they'll also have different different traits, which are going to be interesting to see how they work. Since currently you can't match a vanguard or composer with any other normal structure, which means that we are going to have several different types of structures in the game, which I'm looking forward to. Okay, let's see what this stage will be all about. Okay, let's go. Okay, sorry for the weird cut. I kind of messed up this stage and I have to fight this boss now. But no big deal. I'll just take out this boss. And here you just have to follow the boss and you have to walk into these fields in the right pattern in order to clear the stage. But if you do the same thing as I did, then you will have to fight this boss, which appears to be tanky, and the boss is doing quite a bit of damage, so we have to be careful for this stage. And well, let's see what will happen after I defeat this boss. Now the bosses in this game are absolutely difficult, and speaking of the other bosses, I do want them to make bosses like the final boss in the Eternal Engine. That boss was absolutely amazing, and it is one of my favorites in design. But of course, that boss wasn't that difficult, and it did lack in the difficulty a lot. But overall, a very, very fun boss, and I do want them to make bosses like that just a little bit more difficult. Since if they make them a little bit more difficult, it would be a lot more fun to play, and the bosses will have a reputation that way. But I guess we are going to wait and see what they are going to do in the later updates. Since I think that they are going to make bosses like that in the future, and I will be sure to check those bosses out. Now, regarding these events, I think it is also time to change things up a little bit because the last like couple updates, most of the stages and most of the content that they had released was similar. It was just different story, and it was just with different bosses and of course different enemies. So I think it is time to change that a little bit, since if they continue to do the same thing for a very long time, it might get too repetitive. Since not repetitive in terms of the overall gameplay, but the same layout can get repetitive. So I do hope that they are going to change the overall layout of these events, and that they change the overall bosses a little bit, and of course that they change the stages a little bit to make a fresh new event. Now, since it is Rosetta who's coming in the next update, it will be very interesting to see how she will play, and of course how she will work, since Rosetta is one of those characters that has a reputation of being very difficult. If you remember, her first appearance was back last year at the Frozen Darkness update, which was absolutely amazing, and Frozen Darkness is one of my favorite events in this game, and that was also one of the first events in the game. And the final boss there, the boss rush event, was Rosetta, and she was actually so difficult that they had to nerf the boss. And in the end, we did have a nerfed version of the boss. But the original difficulty is not lost. You can also fight the original Nightmare Rosetta in one of the boss stages, since they did return her there. And it is on the Nightmare difficulty, by the way, and that's why it's called Nightmare Rosetta, since she is very tanky, and she is very fast, and she is very powerful, so you have to have a very, very good team in order to defeat the boss in order to defeat the boss without the timer running out. But if they decide to remove the timer, then it will be very interesting, because then you can actually fight the boss for a very long time. And when you fight the boss for a very long time, then you can actually eventually defeat the boss, which would be good if you ask me. Well, I think this is one of the last stages, and I have to say, it was a pleasant surprise that they did make a lengthy prologue, if this is of course part of the prologue, but I think it is, because I do see that the events were kind of connected with one another, and it will be very interesting to see what will happen in the next story chapter. I think it is story chapter 13, since story chapter 12 was the one where Lucy lost her memories, and then we did have the summer event, which was absolutely amazing, and the side story, and of course for the next chapter 13, it will be the main story. And this map is also looking very nice. It does remind me on the map that I did see back when I played one of the Bianca, I guess one of the Bianca's backstories, because the stages they are very familiar, and I do recognize them from that, so that's a plus. Okay, let's jump on the final stage here, and after that it will be time to end the video. Well, so far it was very good. Now I still did not get Raven, and the first chance that I get to get the character, I'm going to get a character, but now I am saving up for Rosetta, since she is around the corner, and I do need the character, since it is a fresh new character that I do want to play, and it is a character that I am very interested in to see how she works. Now I first thought that it's going to be a S class plus a class, but it turns out it's just a S class. So in the update after the next one, we are going to have two A classes, and in the update after the next update and after the next update, we are going to have a S class, which might potentially be Luna, since that character is also kind of already confirmed to be released, and I am going to play that character as well, since I'm very interested to see how she will work. Okay, that was interesting. Well, let's see what the finale of this. Well, that was the finale. All right. Well, this was fun. I have to admit, this was a very interesting side story, and I am definitely looking forward for the upcoming next update. Well, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed. It's a pleasure to play this game for you, and with that being said, take care, and I'll see you next time.